going to explain every wild cat species in North America. So you're coming home late on a back road outside of town, and your high beams aren't catching anything but dark and fence flying, when all of a sudden something crosses low and fast in front of your truck and is gone before your foot even finds the brake. The next morning, you tell your neighbor about it over the fence, and you call it a bobcat, because that's the only wildcat you've ever heard of living out there. That might be exactly what it was. It might also have been one of 5 other wildcats sharing this whole continent with us right now. Most people couldn't name half of them, even if you gave them half a day to try, or a full day. A couple are common enough to be crossing everybody's yard tonight in almost every state in this country. Nobody's proven another one exists on American ground anymore, not in 40 years, and the government still can't officially call it gone. And out in the mountains of Arizona, the biggest cat on this whole list just turned up again this year. Walking through country that hadn't seen one in generations. While a wall goes up that might decide whether he ever finds his way home. You know I'm talking about that water wall, right? 6 wild cats call this continent home right now. Everything from deep snow country of Canada down through the desert scrub along the Mexican border. There's technically a 7th, a small tree climbing cat called a Margay. It used to reach the very edge of this country too. But the only proof is a single dead one that a trapper found outside of Texas town sometime before 1852. And there's been nothing else since then. The honest, current list, the one every wildlife agency that tracks these animals will back up, comes to 6 though. I'm Mr. B, and welcome back to the Untamed Lens, and we're looking at some pretty neat critters that don't get a lot of attention in our world. We're going to start off with the bobcat. It's a wild cat you've actually got a real shot at seeing, because it's the most common one on this whole list by a mile. This cat runs about twice the size of a big house cat with short, pointed ears, and its tail's cut short. That's how come it's called a bobcat, which is where the name comes from. Wildlife agencies have confirmed it in every state in the country except for Alaska and Hawaii. And check this out, yours is going to be a surprise. Delaware. Biologists put the total population between 2.3 million and 3.5 million animals. That's more bobcats walking around this country tonight than there are people living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Most of them will go their whole lives without seeing a single person laying their eyes on one. Texas accounts for more than 200,000 of them. Attacks on people are almost unheard of, but game wardens will tell you the same thing every time. Don't run from one, and don't turn your back on it, because that's the one move that can flip a shy animal into a chase. This cat's not hiding from you out in some far-off wilderness. It's using the drainage ditch behind the grocery store, and it already knows exactly where you park your car. This cat has been sizing up your yard longer than you've lived in your house, and most people go their whole lives without it ever once knowing it's there. If this one's new to you, go ahead and give this video a hype and hit the subscribe button, because the cats we got ahead of us on this list only get harder to find and stranger to look at. So let's move to the mountain lion. People also call this a cougar, a puma, depending on which part of the country you're standing in. Where the bobcat's mid-sized, this is a serious sized cat. Adult males run anywhere between 115 to 220 pounds. They're 20 brown all over and a black tip on the tail. Leave people out of it, and wildlife researchers tell you this is the widest range of land animal anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, with territory that stretches from the Yukon and Canada clear down to South America. Here's the part that catches people off guard though. For an animal that size, it physically can't roar. What comes out when a mountain lion wants to make a noise is closer to a scream. And the first time somebody hears one in the dark, they usually think a person's being murdered a few hundred yards away. Out west, this cat never really left, and it's been showing up in places that hadn't lived in a century. Confirmed young males have turned up as far east as Missouri, Arkansas, and even Connecticut. You can't get much more east than that, can you? Well, Connecticut was in the last few years. They're just wandering out in search of a new ground. Colorado's own wildlife agency counts close to 4,000 of them inside their state lines. But the population that tells the real story is the one hanging out in South Florida, cut off from every other mountain lion on the continent. Federal and state biologists count that group as somewhere between 120 to 230 adult cats. Florida's own Wildlife Commission says getting hit by cars is the leading way that these cats die. The same species that covers more ground than almost anything else alive on this side of the planet has a piece of itself that could disappear off of one bad stretch of highway, because there ain't but 120 of them or so. Now the Canadian lynx, let's go up there. Up close, in a bad light, people mix this one up with a bobcat every time. And there's one trick that settles it. Flip the tail over, and look at it on the underside. But then again, if you're that close, you're probably a little bit too close. Now, on a bobcat, that patch runs white. A lynx, it don't have one. The black runs all the way around, tip to the base. Again, if you decide to do that without my blessing, because you're gonna need some blessing and it won't be coming from here. Now this cat carries paws the size of a man's hand, built wide and thick with fur so it can cross deep snow without sinking. And it needs to, because it lives in the cold northern forests, the country of Canada, Alaska, and far northern edge of the lower states. Hunting snowshoe hares, that's them rabbits that are white, pretty much. Pretty much that's all they hunt. That's also exactly where the trouble starts. The federal government listed this cat as threatened across the lower 48 states back in 2000, and today biologists only confirm breeding lynx in a handful of places. Northern Maine and New Hampshire, the tip of Minnesota, Montana and Idaho border area, the western Colorado, and the mountains of Washington state, where wildlife officers count fewer than 50 animals are left, though. Just last month, the federal government redrew the protected ground for this cat across Colorado, Idaho, Montana, and Washington. The goal is giving the population room to hold on. Up in Canada and Alaska, the same cat is doing just fine. It's thick on the ground in numbers nobody really worries about. It's only down here, the lower 48, at the southern edge of where it used to live, or it currently does live, that the whole population comes down to a few hundred animals total. The ocelot. If the lynx lives at the cold edge of this list, the ocelot lives at the hot edge of it. Take a house cat, stretch it out a little bit, and paint black ring spots around the side. And you're looking at an ocelot, running about twice the weight of one sleeping on your couch. You know that cat sleeping on your couch? This cat hunts thick, thorny brush country of the deep Texas area, South Texas, down along the Rio Grande. It used to range all the way up to Arizona, Arkansas, and Louisiana before trapping cleared and land clearing pushed it out of everywhere except for two small pockets of Texas ranch country. It's been on the official federal endangered list since 1982. Here's how bad it's got, though. The official count says fewer than 100 ocelots are left inside this country, split between those two populations, one on a wildlife refuge near Brownsville, Texas, and the other one scattered across private ranch land further north. The researchers who trap and track these things, one at a time, think that the real numbers run a little bit lower than that, though. You could put every ocelot left in the United States on 2 school buses, still have plenty of empty seats. A few years back, a male ocelot killed by a car dozens of miles from either known location turned out different enough from both that researchers think there might be a third population out there nobody's found yet, except for that person that hit it with the car. They found one. So getting hit by cars remains the biggest thing standing between this cat and disappearing from the country for good. Now here's a good one for you, the Jaguarundi. This cat shares that same brush country in South Texas with the ocelot. And if you ever saw one cross your yard, you'd call animal control about a stray cat. And that's the whole problem with this one. It's built low and long, more like something a weasel or like a house cat would agree on. Solid brown or charcoal gray with no spots anywhere on it, and a tail nearly as long as its whole body. It's been on the federal endangered list since 1976. Y'all remember that, right? The bicentennial? That's what makes this cat different from every other one on the list. Nobody's ever proven it's alive in this country. The last confirmed one was in the United States, was a dead one, hit by a car outside Brownsville, Texas, back in 1986. That's 40 years back now. Longer than a lot of people had a driver's license. Wildlife officers have run trail cameras across South Texas refuges for years since, and not one has been confirmed or caught on a photo. People call in sightings most years, certain they saw one crossing the field or slipping along a fence line. Now, when somebody who knows the difference gets a clear look, kind of like with those things where you flip up the bobcat, the other cat, and you get these little tails, if you can get a clear look, you might be too close. It keeps turning out to be the neighbor's house cat, though, with the long tail. That's when they think they saw what they saw, but it ain't, because it's a neighbor's house cat with a, as I said, long tail. The paperwork says it's still on the federal endangered list, which means as far as the government's concerned, well, it might be out there today. Nobody can prove it either way. Now we're going to the Jaguar. Head a few hundred miles west on that same border country into the mountains of the southern Arizona, and you're looking at the biggest cat on this whole list, and it ain't even close. Grown males can reach past 200 pounds, with the largest ever recording weighing more than 300. That's about as heavy as a lineman on the NFL roster, don't you think? Football's starting soon. I saw a game tonight between Tennessee and San Fran. Tennessee got the first, score. Yay, Vols. Okay, I know Vols is like college. Yay, Titans. All right, there we go. Put in your comments what's your favorite team. If you don't like NFL, I know you gotta like a college or a high school. Now, this thing wears a coat covered in black rings, each one with a smaller spot inside of it. That's the one thing that tells it apart from a leopard at a glance. Plus, we're in North America, where we have jaguars, we don't have leopards. Now, pound for pound, its bite is stronger than a grizzly bear's, strong enough to punch straight through a turtle's shell. This cat used to range as far north as the Grand Canyon. Hunting and lost habitat pushed it out of most of its country by the mid-1900s, and for decades afterwards, only the rare wandering male ever turned up on this side of the border. So let's say you're a researcher going through trail camera pictures from a water hole in the mountains south of Tucson, Arizona. I don't know if y'all heard about this. So night after night, the same handful of deer wander through, nothing else does. Then one frame stops you cold because a big spotted cat is standing at the water's edge in the dark. It's got its head down and it's drinking like it's done this 100 times before because, it drinks water. That happened in November of last year. Researchers at the University of Arizona named him Cinco because he's only the 5th Jaguar their team has ever confirmed inside this country in the past 15 years. Cinco is Spanish for the number 5. It's like Cinco de Mayo, where you go eat Mexican food on the 5th of May. Don't forget your margarita. So here we are. It's the 5th Jaguar the team has ever confirmed inside the country in the past 15 years. And every single one of those 5 has been a male. Cinco's been caught on camera nearly 20 times since that first sighting. Just this summer, he was moving through tall grass in that same stretch of the mountains along the border. That land borders the mountains past the resolution. So that area that he's in, they passed a resolution last year declaring the jaguar sacred and calling it for it to be welcomed back for good. I can agree with that. I don't know about calling it sacred, but welcome it back for good would be good. Right now, construction crews are putting up 2 parallel walls, 30 feet tall each, straight across the San Rafael Valley. That's the same stretch of border country where Cinco keeps turning up on camera. Nobody knows yet if that route's going to stay open. The biggest cat that ever called this continent home spent most of a century barely holding on there. And the only confirmed proof he's found his way back is still walking through those mountains tonight, waiting to see if the door home is going to stay open. He better get his damn green card, right? Now, if you like this episode, go ahead and give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of the Untamed Lens. I'm Mr. V, and I'll see you in the next one.